Revelation Unraveled, Part 27, The Great Tribulation Continued. B6, the mark of the beast. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, If any man shall adore the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, he also shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is mingled with pure wine in the cup of his wrath, and shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the sight of the holy angels and in the sight of the Lamb. The previous segment of the tribulation period ended with the second woe is past, chapter 11, verse 14. This next tribulation period, B5 through P2, could be called the woe between woes. That is, between the second woe, World War III, and the third woe, divine chastisement. It's evident that St. John considers the first half of the reign of the Antichrist as a continuation of World War III. When mankind actually passes through these stages of the apocalypse, there may not be any sharp historical delineation. The third herald angel once again recounts the choice Christians face under the Antichrist. Either knuckle under, take the mark, lose your freedom in order to avoid famine, or risk your life by following Christ. A third option of taking up arms against the evil tyranny just isn't possible for those espousing true Christianity. Today's persuasive media personalities who claim that hoarding gold or hiding guns is the answer are lying. Why is God's punishment so great for adoring the beast and his image? Because it violates the very first commandment, Thou shalt not have false gods before me. And the smoke of their torments shall ascend up forever and ever. Neither have they rest day nor night, who have adored the beast and his image, and whoever receives the mark of his name. Here is the patience of the saints, who keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. And I heard a voice from heaven saying to me, Write, Blessed are the dead who die in the Lord. From henceforth now, said the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors, for their works follow them. Looking ahead several chapters, after the Battle of Armageddon, the Lord institutes a 1,000-year reign for the saints with Christ on earth. This may be referred to as the millennium, or sometimes as the marriage feast of the Lamb. However, not everyone who has died during the apocalyptic time period will be eligible for this stupendous honor. Even the martyrs who died for the faith during the Great Apostasy, or during World War III, or even during the first half of the tribulation, will not qualify. But at some point during the Great Tribulation time frame, those who are martyred will begin to be chosen for their eventual return to life on a renewed earth. That point starts when the voice from heaven declares in chapter 14, verse 13, that henceforth the dead are blessed. All previous martyrs, up to and including the 2 witnesses, went to heaven. Now it will take such a superhuman effort to accept martyrdom that the reward will be the 1,000-year reign on earth with Christ. The word blessed appears in B6, B8, and B9, and refers to the 3 favored groups who will reign with Christ: the martyred, the raptured, and the protected. Perhaps the true end times Pope, Peter II, will preach as a dogma that those who die at the hands of the Antichrist will gain this millennial privilege. Because every pope since Peter obtains the keys to the kingdom. He could proclaim this blessing a dogma, and it would be as binding in heaven as it is on earth. The Pope may find no other resort than such a dogma, because all resistance to the New World tyranny and the New World religion has evaporated. The Antichrist beheadings and torture of Christians is so cruel that the courage of the faithful can only be buoyed up by such a hope of a millennium reward, in order for them to be willing to accept the most barbaric of martyrdoms. B7, rivers made blood. And the third poured out his bowl upon the rivers and the fountains of waters, and there was made blood. And I heard the angel of the water saying, You are just, O Lord, who are and who was, the Holy One, because you have judged these things. For they have shed the blood of the saints and prophets, and you have given them blood to drink, for they are worthy. And I heard another from the altar saying, Yes, O Lord God Almighty, true and just are your judgments. The symbols St. John uses to describe happenings during the Great Tribulation period continue to express both real and spiritual trials. Just as there is famine, the water also will be contaminated during the reign of the beast. Rearranging the text clarifies what is meant here by the rivers and fountains turning to blood. In the original sequence, this event immediately follows paragraph 3 in R7, and the second angel poured out his bowl upon the sea, and there came blood as it were a dead man. If you relied on the original sequence, you would not be remiss to consider that the two events are almost identical, whereas in fact they are very different. In the case of dead man's blood, the blood is real blood and comes from bodies killed by the nuclear attack of World War III, which decay and putrefy the water. In this second case, the water turned to blood is a heaven-sent plague, visited upon the one-world tyranny of the Antichrist, which is undoubtedly the same as the power of the two witnesses as described in R4. They have power over the waters to turn them to blood. This is very unlikely real blood, but a form of pollution, which certainly renders the water undrinkable.